my brother Scott Moss. I'm so happy you accept to be in these calls, brother. For the people that don't know, or let's put it in this in a different way. For the people that don't live in Miami, because everybody that live in Florida know this guy because he's the builder of the city. All the major construction, the stadium, the ways, everything is by my lovely Scott Moss. So, but the rest of the people that don't know him is the CEO of Moss Construction, a huge, amazing company that is not just building in Florida, but is really doing an amazing job in the whole United States. In fact, it's one of the private construction companies, the biggest construction company in the US. But the most beautiful thing, Scott, that I told you many times is how are you as a brother, as a friend, is insane that in a position of power, in a position of such a big responsibility, you can be so nice, so humble, so incredible. So I'm super grateful to be your friend, brother, and also share this passion that we have for Harvard and YPO and all the things that we are learning there. So Scott, thank you again for being here. The idea of these calls, as you know, is to change a little bit the perspective of the people in this moment of pandemic and now also the revolution, the racial and this and that. Oh my God, it's like a little bit crazy. I think it's important to show the world that we have been in really tough situation before, and it's just the attitude that we put in every single situation what is going to help us be success or stay stuck right there. So the idea, Scott, is tell us a little bit more about your life, the challenge you have been facing, and then I'm going to ask you some questions that all the leaders are asking to have kind of a common thing. So again, I love you. Thank you for being here, and tell us your story.
Ricardo, great to be here. And I already feel better. I think the words of affirmation is definitely my love language. So I'm filled up by that. So super nice that you say all those things. And it is a team. It's a rather big team of Moss Construction. It's about 700 today. And we started in 2003, 2004. My father had retired, quote unquote, from a big corporate life. I actually happened to work for the same company as a project manager, but there was many levels in between us. And so we literally started, and my brother is also in the business. We started with just me, him, and a computer at the end of the day. And with the idea that people work with people and people that they love and respect and they enjoy working with. And so that was the aspect that we started the business with. And so we had 15 people after the first year. And then his non-compete quickly ran out after 18 months. And in relatively short time, in about 4 months, we hired 100 people from his former employee that wanted to go work with us in this new company. And what's so interesting is, we talk about these points, and they're points of inflection. Bob and myself, and I had a chance actually from an inflection point to stay with that company, which is still a great company today, or I had a chance to go create something. And so you have an idea. You can be a victim in those situations, or you can go help create something inside that company or create something outside that company. And I chose to create something with my father and my brother that's pretty special, and with all the people now that have been leading Moss for now 16, 17 years. And it's been a fantastic journey, to say the least. And so
but it's incredible that just in 16 years, oh my God, all the things that you had done.
Yeah.
So and you know what, now that I'm thinking, I'm going to ask Beth that send me some pictures. I'm going to put at the same time we're talking, just to show the people, oh my God, the amazing, structure and buildings and ways that you have been doing. So it's insane. And talk super good about your family and you, because these guys, in some way, they were working in a bigger company and made this Beth. And going with you, it means a lot. It's about trust. It's about leadership.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And we all worked for large companies where there was a certain amount of bureaucracy where you couldn't entrepreneurially do things. And so we run our business way different than a large kind of bureaucratic, and this is no offense to accountants, lawyers, and bankers, I mean, they set up such stringent rules. It's really hard to operate as an entrepreneur in those. And so us with this entrepreneurial base, we attracted a lot of great talent, loves to build, loves to do well in business, and also care for people. And what's kind of funny is that last one now has become our first one as we go through this pandemic, and also this moment of sadness around where America is with race relations and police relations. And so it's kind of funny how that last point ends up becoming the first point that really differentiates us compared to larger companies or different companies.
It's true. And also when you were describing how you make the company totally different, it's absolutely true. And in fact, I've been seeing your team, and it's true. You can be in some way understood like a tech company that make construction. So because you are super disruptive, you are super implementing. So for example, when I met some of your teams, they are always having this opportunity to bring something new to the table, make small mistakes, learn from the mistakes. And we're talking about a very traditional industry. And you are having a very different kind of techie, modern, this could be amazing, no? In terms of results.
Yes, exactly. And it's, what it ends up doing is it puts all the decisions where the decision should be, and it's at the project level and with the client directly. And so this level, the client doesn't feel like they have to go all the way to the mountaintop to get a decision to go to do something different. And so the client feels like, hey, I work with the team there. And in construction, it's all about who are the people in the shirts at the job. It really doesn't matter about me. I'm gonna say that. It doesn't matter about me. The only thing that we bring, Bob and my dad and the rest of our leadership team, it's our job to make sure we have the best people in the shirts, right? And we give them the best tools, and then we let them rip. We let them just go, and I think we do. We have some really great people, and so when someone's asking me how do you pick a contractor, don't pick the brand, because the brand does not matter. Pick the people that are going to be on your job. And even if we lose a job and they say, hey, they felt like they have better people, then that's the horse you're riding. And so that's the way we approach the business.
It's absolutely true. But Scott, since you have 13 years or 16, how many, 13 or 16?
16 years.
16 years in the market. So you face the shock, the economic, maybe 10 years ago. So how was this situation? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So I described a little bit about how we quickly gained staff 100. We actually grew to 350 by the time 08 came around. Wow. And so we went from $22 million in volume all the way in 3 years up to $650 million in volume, right? So crazy growth. And so at that point, you had this, the first the financial recession. And the financial recession really hit hard on us because we were doing a lot of condos and some apartments. So all that condo work went away. There was too much inventory. And so the work just stopped, and also went away from a private perspective too. A public perspective, because we also did schools and we did prisons and jails. And so all of those got canceled as well.
Wow.
So, we shrunk all the way down. We had to lay off, unfortunately, 200 team members, which was a little rough. So we got back to 140, and we are only doing $200 million worth of work a year, which is it's a medium-sized contractor. Now, mind you, we did set up, when we started the company, we said, our goal would be 100 million to be a little regional player. So we were already twice as large as we thought we'd be, right? And so, as we come out of the recession, we're an opportunistic group, meaning we're flexible. A lot of big contractors and big businesses, they're not flexible on what kind of business they'll get in. So we accept just about any phone calls as it relates to, hey, it's production, hey, it's going to be a renovation project. And two of those were solar back in 08, 09. Someone said, hey, come out and watch these guys do this and help us get more efficient. And so that's how our solar business started. And I'll touch on solar a little later. And then second is we got called to a meeting and they said, hey, we want you to renovate a couple houses. Well, renovate a couple houses. And we're like, why? What's going on? Well, there's sulfur inside this drywall, so it's Chinese drywall. And we're like, well, we're not really renovation, but tell me about the whole problem. Okay. Well, we have about 15,000 houses to renovate from here to Houston. And we're like, okay, now we can help. We can help with 15,000.
Oh my
And
God.
so we went on this, and they had a huge lawsuit. And so they thought they were going to spend billions, and they spend a lot less than billions on this problem because we set up a program for, and I think we roughly end up, about 10,000 settled or something like that. And we ended up doing about 5,000 houses from here to Houston.
Wow.
Renovate them all the way back to the studs, go back in and move and help the people that own the houses move them back in, so then they don't smell that rotten egg smell that they smell. And actually it was really bad for electronics. And so that kind of open-mindedness where we embrace opportunities is part of our core values, right? And so that's one of the reasons why we'll continue to grow is we're all about, hey, you want us to do this? Okay, we can do this under these conditions, and then boom, you can see.
Another way to describe you, in some way, you are a problem-solving company with huge expertise in construction,
Correct.
plus heavy management, technology,
Correct.
blah, blah, blah. So
correct.
It's a
Correct. Yeah, no, that's about way to look at it. And when you look at the jobs, they're typically really complicated jobs that we end up excelling at, because that's the challenges that we like, and also the market will pay a little extra for that kind of service. And so if you kind of think about it from 08, 09, and in 11, we had kind of a change because you're coming out of the recession now, and now condos are now the vacancy is super low, and we had a lot of good clients that had good deals on the land they had, and they were going to build apartments, and all of a sudden condos started selling super fast. And so we ended up changing, if you will, the skyline of Brickell, Mary Brickell Village. Building Brickell Heights, building SLS Lux, 1010, Flatiron. When you look at the massive amounts of concrete that's been in place, it's just unbelievable.
I know, it's crazy.
And our team crushed it, and our clients absolutely just crushed it, and so good for them.
You were also, and it's nice also what you're doing, that you never stop, and you never, it's not that you just do one kind of construction. You are, again, problem solving in this field, and whatever come in this field, more or less, you have the capacity with your team to understand the problem and to bring an efficient solution. And for this reason, maybe you also jump in the solar panel, no?
Yes. So I mentioned solar just a little bit, and so in 08, it wasn't so viable. Really in 08, the panel producers were developing solar fields or solar plants to do something with the panels they produced. And over time, the panels have gotten so cheap and the construction has gotten so efficient that it's actually as cheap or cheaper to produce a megawatt of solar as it is a gas power plant to burn it and produce it, which is a huge thing for solar. And so right now, when you look at the past 3 years of solar, and let me catch you up on our volume at this point, right? And as you slowly get into 15, from that low point of 10, 11 of about 200 million, we've grown to about 1 billion by the time you get to 15, 16. So we're a decent size, right? Yeah. So it's a hustle, right? And so in between there, you have a couple things that happen. And so I'll get to solar, because solar scales a little, in between 17, 18, 19 scales a little differently. But in between 11 to 15, we had 2 things happen that was really cool. And this is all about answering the phone and taking advantage of opportunities. Is my dad has a buddy in the industry. He says, hey, you want to buy a company? We're like, we don't have a lot of money right now. It's 11. Who's got cash? Just come and listen. Okay, we'll come and listen. And so we get there, and there's a company that's owned by a publicly traded company. This is all, you can read this in the newspaper. It's owned by a publicly traded company, but they don't want to be in the construction business. And so they say, we want you to finish the work. We don't want to, we'll cut off the liability with where you guys start, and you're liable for maybe a little bit more. And you know, they don't have much work sold. And we're like, well, that means you're just talking about overhead we're going to be adding. And so the guy goes, well, how much is it worth? And my dad says, how do I put a value on really nothing but overhead, and your sales are maybe soft at best, and you have a little bit to finish? And smart British guy. Yeah. And, goes, there are numbers less than zero. And I'm like, and we're all like, okay, the riddle is they're willing to pay us to take this company.
Wow.
And sure enough, they paid us, and it's in a report. They paid us $4 million to take the company. Right? Hilarious. And then in true Moss luck, and some people would say preparedness versus opportunity, you know, whatever it is, but we end up selling, you know, $200 million worth of work, like the first 6 months of owning that company.
Wow.
And so that was amazing. Changed the brand to Moss. Then the second transaction, so we did 2 of these, and we're not big transaction people, but the second transaction, as we're signing the papers for that transaction, someone calls us and says, hey, would you come down and do just a brief introduction to your company? And we're like, okay, I don't know what that's about, and we had kind of partnered with this group to build a jail up in Vermont or New Hampshire, and I can't remember, but they want to know more about us, and so did it. Felt weird because they started asking us questions that were like, wow, that's an interesting question. I didn't feel like they want us to build for us, but we kind of moved out of our business, right? And kept on going about our business. And a month later, they said, we want you to now do another presentation again. Okay, all right. And at that presentation, where we're telling all the information about the company, they said, listen, we have a construction company ourselves. Okay, knew that. We do only military housing and stick-built apartments. We're getting more into commercial, and what we would like to do is buy a minority share of your business. That's about the craziest thing we ever heard of, right? Because why do you want a minority share of a construction business when, you know, you have to operate these businesses? It's an operating business. It's not one of those you just kind of let go and hope that someone, you know, that's an odd thing to do. And so we said, well, okay, let's say more. And then they said, well, we're going to give you 65 people. We're going to give you an office in El Paso, San Diego, and Hawaii. Okay. And then we're going to give you work every year as well. Okay. And you're still going to pay us for the shares. Yes. Okay.
Oh my God.
And so the next transaction happened. That's how we got west fast. It would have taken us to get an office in Hawaii and San Diego and El Paso, which we moved the El Paso one now to Dallas. That would have taken 20 years.
Yes, Scott, but these are a fantastic proof when you have the perfect system, the perfect design of company with a perfect culture, people come to you because this is the magic. It's not trust me, there are people in the state that have the money maybe to invest, but they are not looking for money. Look, they were looking in both cases for talent, to someone that can transform this business. So I think that was really smart, the way how you changed from a corporate company and start your own company, creating this solution company with all these management best practices in management that are able to transform not just, again, one company in a panel, solar panel, this and that. So it's fantastic. So I think I also think that at the end of the day, Scott, part of the beauty is that when you are building something that it makes sense and is productive, there are so many other open doors that arrive because
that's correct.
So this magic, also the people that work in your company are so happy, so enthusiastic, so passionate about what they're doing that this is contagious. So people talk and this is part of the magic, I think. So
the full engagement is key because they're all bought into, and this is this phrase we use all the time in our business, or actually in our company, is always be closing. Always be closing issues, always be closing talent, always be closing new work. if you do those three things every day, every week, every month, we will be busy forever. And so because the teams are always closing, I don't ever have to worry. I mean, right now we have 80 jobs. Not one job is behind schedule. Not one. And so now all of that capacity or all that capacity that I would be worried about is our leadership teams now focused forward. Not worried about problem jobs. We're focused forward. And operational excellence is what really drives the business. And then we get a chance to really do some fun stuff with the rest of the business.
Agree. Okay, I need to jump in some questions. Scott, how old are you right now?
How am I?
Yes, how old?
How old am I or how am I?
No, I don't know. How old are you? How old
am I? I'm 47.
47.
No. 1 year off. I'm 46. I'll be 47 in August.
Yeah. Okay. Do you remember when was the first time you making money? At what age? And what work you had done?
I was 17.
Okay.
I was 17.
And what did you sell?
My dad had me. I was an athlete in school, so a big team sports guy, and I would work out a lot. And so there was a job site right near Sawgrass Mills Mall. You've probably been there. Huge mall, 1.5 miles long. My job was to track the asphalt and also track the wood floor. The wood floor there is 1 mile long, I think. And so I colored pretty much for my first job.
Okay, good.
Right? But then from then on, I probably worked every Christmas or summer, either laying out piles, like where the foundations would go, or working in a concrete crew until I was 23 when I graduated college.
Okay, and at what age you start working in this construction field?
17.
Got it.
17.
Okay, do you have any first entrepreneurial business before, or you just jump from the university?
No, I am. When you think about entrepreneur, I'm a little different. I'm the ops side of entrepreneuring. My brother is the way more out of the box artist entrepreneur. I mean, riverboat gambler, I would call him. And my dad's not very far away. From an entrepreneurial spirit, I'm more of the leadership. How do we end up doing this? How do we get this done? Communicator. How do we arrange this correct? And so I'm about strategy, structure, people, process.
Got it.
And scale, right? And so am I the guy that said to Dad when we first started, I'm really looking forward to owning my own construction company? That really wasn't my thing.
Okay.
Over time, it's been really rewarding because of the impact you can see you making in people's lives, which I always thought I'd have to run for office to do that. But when I think about how I can impact first the 700 people, then I think about, okay, if each one has a family of 2 or 3, now you're impacting anywhere from 1,400 to 2,100, maybe even 2,800, depending on how many people there is. Then you think about how our jobs are run, all 80 of them. We average 400 people on a job. Whoa, that's serious. Now you're impacting 30,000, right? And so now when you start to think about, how you're impacting the world, way different and way more intimate than running for office and impacting the world that way.
100%. And in fact, remind me an interview that I have with Carlos Añaños. Carlos Añaños is the founder of a huge company, Big Cola. Is the kind of the Coca-Cola for Peru and the South, but right now it's in Asia. So it's a huge company, and he started from scratch. And I know that he always have the thought, because it's like you, super personal people. And I asked, okay, where are you going to run for something? And he tell me exactly the same, that I discovered that what I'm doing in my business is as powerful as being running, and maybe more. So, and it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. It's a way to contribute to the country.
No, I totally agree with that. And when you look at the work we do in our foundation, and that's what my brother's the president of the foundation, does a great job of thinking outside the box of how do we help our communities. And we really focus on the 4 geographic areas that we are in: South Florida, Mid-Florida, Dallas, Hawaii. And when you think about the impact we can make in people's lives, it's just unbelievable.
100%. Okay, what is the biggest success in your life so far, brother?
I married Kate Moss. Um, and that's a compliment to both Kate Mosses, by the way.
No. We need to tell to the world how we met. So the first thing that we were sharing is I just met my actual wife, and I was like, look at this brother, look at this woman. I said, oh my God. And when we left, we had the same car and beautiful woman. So we have so many things in common.
Oh yeah, had a lot in common, right? Right. We both outkicked our coverage dramatically. Dramatically. I mean, this is Reggie Roby. If you remember the Dolphins, Reggie Roby. Yeah, I mean, big punt, huge. And she has been my probably my favorite, my best mentor around communication, authenticity, being good emotionally. Right? So she has been a wonderful mentor, and I've had a lot of coaches, and I still to this day I keep a coach on figuring out who I need to be for not only for the company but for my family in different stages, right? Because things progress, things change, and so and I've heard it's kind of weird how I met this guy, but I heard a great saying: "Success has many fathers," right? And so my dad has been a great mentor, but when success has many fathers means that my quarterback coach, who texts me still to this day, is someone I'm in touch with, right? Unfortunately, my head coach passed away because of cancer, but I still remember some of his thought process. My basketball coach, I remember him. I actually worked with my junior high and high school best friend. And so he was a mentor even in high school. And then today he still mentors me. And so I consider Ricardo a mentor. Right? And so on total smoothness and all that. So I like to. Everyone has these great experiences that you don't have to go learn and do yourself. You can get and glean so much information from people. And so even when I think about the business, we've had 4 executive vice presidents move on to different parts of their career, and they have helped the business immensely. And they also helped me from a mentorship perspective. I actually called them uncles at one time because they are so important in my life.
I love it. Okay, the biggest failure in your life, brother, because we have many failure or one big, or, tell me a little bit more about that.
My biggest failure to date is we had a client that he called anxious, angry, and we were totally misaligned on what we thought the expectations of the project were, the contract, everything. And in haste, both of us went down a path of disagreement. And that's my biggest failure, is not taking a breath and saying, let me go figure out this person's perspective, just 2 more heartbeats, and go see face to face. And unfortunately, that phone call ended up costing Moss a decent amount of money. And it was just because I didn't listen good enough. And so that would be my biggest failure.
Yeah. And it's a good.
Thanks for bringing it up. I appreciate it, Ricardo. Appreciate that.
No problem.
I haven't thought about that one in a while, but you brought me there.
It's a nice learning.
It is a Friday, so I guess I'm ready to start drinking, right? So, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. One more question. Do you have an amount of money, brother, to stop working, or you're gonna do it forever? The relationship with money and working has gotten different over time. So the business is all about perpetuity, right? And so if the business is about perpetuity, then it's about setting it up and making sure the business can continue on without you, right? And do that in a meaningful way. So that means you have to get out of the way so someone else can lead. And so to me, it's not going to be about money. It's going to be about timing and time, right? My father named me president in 2011.
did not seek a bunch of input from me. He just said, okay, you're president now, which is hilarious, right? Love him. He actually surprised the whole company, the whole leadership group, and said, okay, in 2 years, Scott's going to be president. And all of us were at breakfast, and I think a couple of scrambled eggs hit tables. So it was perfect. But, you know, and it was great because Bob was great at shared leadership, right? And to this day, at 73, you know, he's fired up. He's still, even in the middle of a pandemic, he's coming to work probably 2 to 3 weeks a day, fired up and ready to go, right?
He's a rock. You know what? He's a rock star. I need to interview him.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. He'll be off the charts, man.
Your father is, you know.
Yeah, he's legit. He is legit, and grew up very middle to lower middle class economic situation, right? And so it's a long way away from where he.
But the energy that this man has is incredible. So I met him in his office, and he stand up, and he's like a military, super energy. Hello, how are you? Super strong. Oh my God, so super.
Yeah. He's getting after it. I mean, yeah. And he'll get fired up if one of our trucks is dirty. Oh, he's fired up. Don't be driving around a dirty truck with his name on it. That doesn't work, right? And so he gets fired up. And so when you think about time and timing, it's not going to be about how long do I want to work. It's going to be, am I the right person for the company at that particular time? And personally, you know, where are me and Kate Monster, you know, at that point, right? And so it's not going to be about money, and so that, fortunately, that's not the issue, right? It's going to be about what does the company need, and we do have a board set up, so I'll always have a role as a board, but then. You know,
but you know what, Scott, this is something that people can smell, and imagine as a team that they know that the leader is ready to give the position to the best that can do the play. It's fantastic because in some way, you know, maybe some other in the office have an inspiration or aspiration for, you know, to jump, but it's nice that you are, you know, preparing, giving the tools, giving inspiration, and you have no attach. What you want is the best for the company, and if the best is to stay there, of course. And it's not, and I agree 100%. Doesn't have to be money. So keep working. I think it's something that we're gonna do forever, and helping. And it's not about money. It's because it's your passion. So it's what you enjoy.
And it is. And I think I'm gonna always help in general. But my golf game is almost like work, a 4-letter word. So it still will provide plenty of work, if you will.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, the best advice someone gave you.
Oh wow, the best advice someone gave me. And it's my dad. It's not what happens in life to you; it's how you react to it.
And fantastic for this moment.
Right?
Love it.
Yeah. Bobby Lee has always said there's a choice in there. You can't change what's just happened. You can control how you think about it and in how you behave around it. And so it's fantastic. I mean, great advice. It's changed my world. And as a teenager, I got tired of hearing it, just for the record. But as a young adult, it really made a big difference in my career.
Love it. Do you have someone that is an inspirational legend?
Inspirational
legend, but probably your father for sure.
Yeah. Dad definitely is. I actually work for 2 of them. I work with 2 of them right now, and those 2 really inspire me to be better and better. And so we work together, and they're amazing people. And so what an honor it is to work with 2 people that
you admire,
that rock it out, right?
100%.
And we work together.
One more thing, Scott. Do you do exercise every single day, or how many days a week?
It's varied with my travel schedule. So with COVID and the pandemic, clearly it's I'm an everyday kind of Peloton guy. Just getting back into it. I had done it before, but then my gym shut down where I had my Peloton bike. So then I had to order one. So I've been part of their massive stock increase. So I like Peloton. It's great. And then if Orange Theory's open, I like Orange Theory too.
Got it. At what time do you go to sleep
11, I try and be in bed.
and wake up?
11, varied anywhere from 5:50 to the latest 7. I'd
This,
be sleeping in.
this is something that every single leader is doing. They wake up
Well,
really early.
I track my sleep to track my eating and think about how I'm treating my body so I can continue on. And then that little bit of data forces you to go to bed earlier and earlier and drink a little bit less and less, right?
Amazing. If you need to give an advice for a book, what book do you recommend?
Oh, one book. I think, wow, one book. I think my favorite lately is Never Split the Difference. And it's how to negotiate like your life depends on it. Why do I like that book is because it teaches us first how to listen really well the first 4 chapters. And that's what I liked about that book, because I think that's an art that's missing in our culture. I think we've gotten so fast that we're thinking about how we're going to respond instead of listening to someone's emotion and also to ask for clarifying conditions or emotions.
And in some ways is combined with this bad experience that you had that maybe.
Yes. Oh yeah, very much so. Thank you. Yeah, you brought me back there. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that, brother. I can always count on you. Yes. Yes.
Last question. We start drinking. Okay. The advice for people that are listening this is the last question. So what is the advice that you give to the people that are listening and super sad and, in some way super deep in the situation?
Yeah, I think the advice, I guess, that especially in this time, that is hard to understand is, and each culture is a little different. So if you go in the South, they're a little bit better at this than we are in South Florida, or maybe when I go to Dallas, I see this, is it just take time to talk to absolute strangers and give a little bit empathy about where each person is, because I think with the fast pacedness of big cities and big metropolises, people forget there's people involved in everything we do. So as you order the next time, look into your server's eye and say, how are you doing? Right? And take that extra beat to whomever you're with, just to be present and feel that human energy, which I think we get more and more cut off from, whether it be text, whether it be email, whether it be phone calls. And I think what's crazy about the Zoom and Teams and everything else is I think rarely do you ever talk this closely, right? But really, right? I mean, and so I think that's a great part of this particular time, is you're starting to get, and so now what I try and do this humanly with a person at Starbucks behind a mask, or I've been out talking to people at solar fields, and to look into their eyes and say, how are you doing? And then to take that present pause to say, I need to really answer that question, and wait and be silent. Don't just say how you doing and expect some rote answer. Be silent and be present.
Scott, you have no idea how grateful I'm for this interview. And let me tell you one thing. I always told you that you are super gentle, super nice, as a brother, is incredible. Oh, but even this advice, brother, that you are giving. So you are working in a company that is also about math, numbers, hard things, and you are such a human person. Is incredible. So I'm really, really happy to be able to share this with the people that don't know you. And again, thank you, brother. I love you. Thank you for this interview and for inspiring so many people. One of them is me, okay?
All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Take care.
See ya.